In this video, we're going to work on the Khan Academy Challenge Colorful Creature. Now, this video is the first one that is about CSS, and so I want to take a minute to go over some of the basics of CSS. So I'm going to use this site here, and this shows us the CSS syntax, which is the structure of how the CSS language works. And the first thing we see here is that there is a selector, and it says H1 there. And so the most basic selector is called an element selector. So if we look over here to remember what an element is everything from the opening tag to the closing tag. So everything in there, and this is a P element because it has a P here. So if it was an H1 or a body or any of the other tags that would be in here, then that would be a body element or a paragraph element or an H1 element. So you're selecting the entire element, everything in that. And then also, if there were multiple ones of those on the same page, you would be selecting all of those elements that match that. So that's how an element selector works. So that's what you do with a selector. There are other selectors to allow us to get more specific, but we'll get to those later. So then after that, you have the curly brackets, and then you have a declaration, which is this whole section right here, starting with where it says with the C and ending with the semicolon. So that's one declaration, and then you have a new declaration that starts here and goes to the end. You can have basically as many declarations as you want in your CSS, and it ends with the other curly bracket here. Now, the vast majority of time, I always do each declaration on its own line. So it's going to look more like this down here where I have my selector. So that stayed the same. I have a selector, and then I have my curly brackets, and then I put my declarations, each one on a line. And then within each declaration, there's a property and a value. So you have a property of, in this case it's color, in this case it's red, up here it's blue. After the property comes a colon, and then after the value comes a semicolon. So that is the structure of CSS right there. You have your, you just have your selector, and then make sure you do your curly brackets, put your property, your value, and then as many properties and values as you need to have there. All right, so now let's jump into the challenge, Colorful Creature. And what it wants us to do is to make a web page about an awesome animal and then color the web page to look like it. So we need to use the image picker and add an image picker that shows the animal and then fill in the paragraph about it. So scroll down a little bit here, and let's after this H1 heading right here, do enter and img, and then source equals my quotes, and then I can use their file picker, and let's do creatures and photos, and let's do a cheetah. That sounds good. Okay, and then remember I need to put my closing bracket here, and then let's add a width equals 300 because I don't want it to be that ginormous. Alright, that looks better. It's still kind of big, but I think we can handle that. So it says use the strong and M tags to describe what the animal is and why. So let's, inside the M tag here, let's do cheetah. I think that's how you spell it. Close enough. And then inside the strong tag, the cheetah is awesome because it is fast. Okay, so making progress, keep moving on. That looks great. And yeah, so let's go to the I already went to the next step. So now it says, now we want to add some CSS, but there's no style tag in the page yet. So we need to add a style tag inside the head and just below your title. So we need to be in, so here's the head, and then they want us to put it below the title. So right here. So I'm going to hit enter, give myself some space. I'm going to do style and angle bracket, and then it automatically filled in the closing tag for me there, so that's good. And then I'm moving forward, next step, and it says now add a CSS rule to change the background of the whole web page. So I need to use an element selector to select the whole web page. So to do that, I need to use the body selector, and then I need my curly brackets, and then I need to do background dash color, and I'm just going to put, so you have two options here. If it's a common color, you could just put yellow, and then it will be that color, or you can do the RGB and just put the parentheses, and then you can pick a color and it will automatically fill that in. So it's really up to you. Let's see if we can get a little bit more space there so we see it all on one line. So if you just type RGB and then the parentheses, it'll let you bring up the picker. You don't need any quotes there, but I mean, a lot of times I just type in the color I want because it's easier, but really either way is okay. So let's go with that purple. Looks good. And then it says on to the next step. Now add a CSS rule to change the color of the paragraph. Okay, so we need to select the paragraph. So I'm going to use a P, and the P will select this whole paragraph right here. So P selector, curly brackets, my property is color, colon, and then it automatically adds my semicolon, and my value is going to be teal because that's very easy to spell. And now that's teal, so I can go next step. I'm on the last step. Add a rule to change the heading. So again, same idea here. I need to use H1 to select that element. H1, curly bracket, and let's say color of dark blue. And I got that. So that is it. I used my my element selectors to make this website look pretty cool. Finish challenge.